Welcome to the Rad Dad Redemption Podcast. Here's your hosts, Drew and Dex.
Leave it in. The pre-show adjustment.
Yeah, well, gotta get comfy.
Gotta get set up.
Back in the basement.
Yeah, welcome to another morning show.
This one might not be as sharp as our last one.
Yeah, an immediate fumble on the play. The whole beauty and success of the morning show was that we did it like midweek, and we were like actually, got to bed on time, had a nice coffee, really business oriented. I was thinking about our Limitless reference, and like this is the scene in the movie when the drugs wear off.
Yeah, he's like run out and he's gotta like buy them on the street or something. Yeah.
Oh yeah. This is my birthday weekend.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I have been celebrating. I am limited, not limitless this morning.
My tolerance for alcohol has been limitless. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, when you've got two teams like the Leafs and the Oilers doing their thing,
And you're hanging out with a Leafs fan last night, so it was
the Leafs fan.
The Leafs fan.
The Dart guy. I was hanging out with Dart guy. It's got to be weird for him to show up in the office with just like a blue leaf painted on his face Monday morning.
Yeah, he can't wash it off because he used like permanent marker. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, our buddy's the Leafs fan, and he actually ghosted last night. He pulled a sneaky like, I'm going to the washroom, and then just left through the front of the house. And I actually...
The old Irish goodbye.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was alive, but then coming to your house this morning, I heard him yelling from his second floor in his house, because he lives by you, "Go Leafs!" So he's alive, and he's still excited. So
I was chatting with him this morning because our kids went on a bike ride together, and he looks okay. Like he looks like he's hurting, but he looks pretty good.
How do I look?
You look great.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's just on the inside. It's just how I feel.
On the outside, I'm hooting, and on the inside, I'm hollering.
Oh my God. Well, hey, yeah, the morning show.
Morning show, Sunday morning, the Lord's Day.
Oh yeah, no, that's that is today.
Yeah.
Shout him out.
You were saying you needed some hydration, so I was at Costco and I asked you if you wanted some breakfast hot dogs, which is like...
You have no idea how close I was to like, that is exactly a Costco glizzy just right when you get up. And we ate hot dogs last night. Like I was looking at my phone, waiting for my eyes to focus, and I like am burping up glizzy. I'm having glizz burps, and then you're like, do you want a Polish? You want a Polish footlong? I'm like, that's exactly what I need right now.
I was only asking you because if I was like, I was going to turn to my wife and be like, well, Drew wants a hot dog, so I get one too.
He also wants an ice cream and an 18-inch pizza.
So anyway, you said no to the glizzies, but I did get you a hydration beverage. We got the Primes.
I've never had a Prime, and I got to say, pretty tasty. I'm also reading the back. There's coconut water in here. Yeah,
very good for hydration. Got all the B vitamins. All this means absolutely nothing to me. Just yum yum.
Yeah, I'm feeling hydrated. Prime is a whole movement.
Well, so we were kind of talking about this before we hopped on air, and it sort of spurred us into a conversation. We're like, okay, let's stop talking and start recording. Record. Yeah, we got to start recording. And so I was talking with somebody I know, and their oldest son is in grade 5, and he had a Prime when we were kind of hanging out last weekend, and his mom was saying, these are like a status symbol when you're in grade 5. Like if you got a Prime on your desk, automatically the coolest kid in the room.
100%.
And you're a teacher and you vouched for that. You're like, yep.
No, it's a real thing. And it's an interesting phenomena. Like they get like a single, I don't know, what are they, $4, $3?
Yeah, like $3.50. Yeah.
Yeah. So they get a bottle of Prime.
So you owe me $3.50, by the way.
Yeah. No problem. They get a bottle of Prime, and it's their master status. Not only is it on their desk, but it's all they talk about. Oh, me? Lemon lime.
I'm a lemon lime man. Yeah.
Oh, me? I'm more of a fruit punch guy. And then the other thing that's hilarious is they'll drink it because they're like little monsters, and they'll just crush the sugary drink. And then they'll go to the washroom and they'll fill it up with water. So that like they're like ghost priming, like just to have the bottle.
Just like perfectly formulating the right mixture of food coloring to make it look like a lemon lime. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like they'll have like a prime from the day before, they're prime today. I've seen kids just collect bottles, just recycling on their desk. They switch the lids out, and they've just bought themselves like a little bit of attention.
You know what though? Full credit to them, because we always talk about the 3 R's and we focus on recycle, but reusing, reducing. You can't forget about.
We always talk about.
I was
That's
talking.
the first time I've heard the 3 R's.
I meant the greater we like society in general.
Oh, that Rad Dad Redemption podcast. Those guys love recycling, reusing, and reducing.
Tune in next week when we have Greta Thunberg on.
Captain Planet, he's a hero, gonna take pollution down to zero. Do you remember that show?
I do.
That show was so sick.
Captain Planet dropped the ball. Not going to meet that 1.5 degrees Celsius target.
Oh yeah, we need we legitimately need the power of earth, wind, fire, and water right now, because we're getting smoked. I think that's what the kids' rings were.
But back to
Prime.
Well, back to just like
even
trends.
a kid with a Captain Planet T-shirt shows up, total nerd, total loser, busts out a bottle of Prime. I like this guy. This guy is cool. Can I move my desk by Billy? Kid's Prime.
And so it got me thinking like what was cool when we were like that age, and it was a lot of Pokemon related stuff.
Well, and I got thinking like, yeah, not what was cool, but just that the idea of that coolness economy when you're a young person. Yeah. Like you very much, one day you're nobody, and the next day you've got something.
Yeah, it's almost like, and it's like scarcity. I think like people look, it's hard to find these primes sometimes. They sell out at the Circle K, right? And so I've heard like parents will go run into all the Circle Ks to get their kids a prime, right? And so when I was a kid, I had a shadowless Charizard Pokemon card.
Ooh,
still have it actually.
Still cool. I'm still pumped.
But that was like, when I opened that pack and I saw that, I immediately was filled with this like sense of confidence that I haven't experienced since. Not
like getting the card, but what it was going to do for you socially.
Oh yeah, no, I was like, I have leapfrogged so many people on the hierarchy at Big Rock Elementary.
Doesn't matter how much Umbro I'm wearing. When I show up with this Charizard, it's on.
Yeah.
Walk me through that day. What was it like?
So this was peak, like hard to find Pokemon card era.
Okay.
Right? And
I'll do anything for Pokemon cards back in the day.
Oh yeah, like you'd get a shipment, and this is also like pre-internet, right? So it was like you had to like call the store or go to the store. So the store would get a shipment, they'd be gone within half an hour, right? People would get word that this store has Pokemon cards. They got the booster packs. They're gone, right? So I remember after school one day, my dad rolled up, and my mom had like sent him on like she was like, your chore today to acquire Pokemon cards.
Acquire Pokemon.
And
make your son happy.
He showed up, and my brother and I get in the back of his truck, and he's just like flat. We don't have video, but just over his shoulder in between the two front seats.
He's glowing.
He's got
an aura. No way.
Yeah. And we were like, you could just imagine you get after a day of school, hey dad, how's it going? And he's like, what's up, kids? Like boom, like Gambit from X-Men just
it just shoots him at you. Oh my god! But there's 2 packs, and you got little brother. So like, there's a potential there. He's getting Charizard.
Exactly. So I think about even in that moment, just to getting the Pokemon pack at that point was difficult enough. And in that moment, it could have gone 50-50. I got lucky that I got the one with the Charizard inside. And it was like,
what he got? Like he got like a Vaporeon, like non-shiny.
I mean, at that point, there was always a shiny in one pack, right? But at that point,
no, there's always a star, like always a rare card,
okay.
But you didn't always get the holo.
Okay, I can't remember what he got, to be honest. Obviously, not a Charizard.
Idiot.
But and that that mentally affected him to this day.
He's never been the same. He's still struggling.
He's
all of his problems in life. He tells the story very differently. Oh, yeah. Like here's your shining dad shooting out Poke cards like Gambit. That's your take. His take is like it's just raining. It's the gloomiest, saddest day. Your dad pulls out
the worst day of my life.
Your dad pulled out a whole box of booster packs for you. And then he gets this like dusty rolled up pack. It's like, and here's yours.
Yeah,
never the same.
Yeah, probably he would have a different take on that story for sure. But yeah, I mean, for me, that was, I put it in my binder, my Pokemon card binder.
Hell yeah.
And I'd take that to school. And I remember like a lot of schools back in that day banned bringing your Pokemon cards because it was like starting fights on the playground and stuff.
Totally. It was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
You're speaking my language.
I don't think Big Rock ever did that because it was just a glorified kids fight club, but...
It still is.
Shut up, Big Rock. My daughter's going there in September. But.
Yeah, heck yeah. Good school. Yeah. Great school.
But no, it was, I don't remember them ever banning it, but I do remember actually getting into an argument with an older kid who was like trying to trade me like fake Pokemon cards printed off his like home computer. And he was like, yo, I'll give you this whole stack for your Charizard. And at first I was like stoked. And I'm like feeling them. And I'm like, this is fucking printer paper. This is Staples Eco brand printer paper.
That's man.
And it turned into like a bit. And I remember
counterfeit Pokemon.
Oh yeah. I remember I had like people coming up to back me up. And they're like, you're going to try and fucking rip decks off? And like, I was like, yeah, this is my crew, my gang. Yeah, no, I vividly remember that. That was like grade 4.
But before the Charizard, before your prime,
nobody would have come to my back.
You had no gang. No. You were just alone.
Oh, yeah, no.
You were the kid who shows up and your binder is just the energy cards.
The ones that people threw away. Who needs energy cards? Nobody actually plays the game.
Paralyze heal. Do you guys want to trade with me?
I got a trainer card. It allows you to swap in another card.
Oh yeah, the pariah.
Without losing your turn.
Man, that's another like cliche but very true thing. Is like you got Charizard, you got your ticket, you got the golden ticket, and it's like I see kids that get the prime, and then there's like little. We'll stick with Billy. Billy didn't get prime today, and he's like trying to roll in on the cruise. Like, guys, I have Gatorade, and it's like, you fucking idiot, you're done. That Pokemon era, I could rap about Pokemon this entire episode, and might try to. But I remember, you couldn't get the booster packs in Okotoks. They had this like god awful video rental store, and we had a lot back in the day.
Yeah,
and some of them were sick, but there was That's Entertainment Video,
right?
And I will have to tread carefully because I think there's still a business. I don't think they rent VHSs. They do like
it's a really, really struggling VHS rental.
They do like
store
video archiving. Probably great people. Probably really do a good job. Please listen, but. You like rip down there, and that was the same thing. Yeah, everyone getting calls on the landline like, That's Entertainment has booster packs. Like, Mom, I need $5, and she's like, no. I'm like, all right, you ready for this tantrum? I'm gonna explode until I get it. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other like status symbols. Scooters, like the oxygen scooters. That was a big one that came through Big Rock.
I also remember like the big fat skate shoes for a while because those were like pricey shoes, like convincing your mom to buy you a pair of like Osiris D3s.
The Osiris, they're just marshmallows.
Oh yeah, but like they were like $110, right? And so like to be like, Mom, like can we go to West 49, get me a pair of Osiris skate shoes? Objectively, like the ugliest era in shoes. But like that was the thing. You had to wear these giant, massive skate shoes. Even if you didn't skate, you had to wear skate shoes. And then like your mom being like, well, Sport Check has like the New Balance sneakers on sale for $39.99. You'd be like, don't do this to me, Mom. Don't do this to me. I need the Osiris. My mom would be like, oh well, the Airwalks are on sale. It's like, those aren't Osiris. Like that, those kind of shoes. I think that was like not so much a scarcity thing, but that was like you convinced your parents to drop $110 on a pair of shoes that you're going to grow out of in like 6 months.
And you're like definitely the kid who carries his skateboard instead of rides it. Like I can't do anything, but you get the shoes.
Yeah.
And then you're a poser, but it's like, but you're a cool poser.
Yeah, you got the look.
Look at Osiris. My mom was a winter shopper too. Like I never got cool shit. When I look back on my childhood, like I definitely like, I don't know. I'm Clint. I'm getting the the non-Charizard pack. My parents were fantastic, but like winter shoppers, like even when it came to lunches, like I wasn't a Dunkaroos kid. I was like, whole wheat, PB&J, trying to trade up. But my brother, 7 years older, and he had a job, so he would just like, he was at that stage in his life where if he wanted something cool, he could just go buy it.
Yeah.
And he had like his own sense. And like I was my brother's size when I was in like the 6th grade, 7th grade. And so I benefited by just like robbing him blind. That's how I operated. As soon as I fit my brother's clothes and shoes, like I was him. I was just cosplaying as my brother for most of junior high.
Yeah, we're all trying to cosplay as like Tony Hawk, and you're just like, no, I'm Joe Hoover.
Oh yeah, I'm wearing his billabongs. I'm wearing his puka shell necklace, everything. And I'd have to be like clandestine operation, like wait for him to like get in the shower and just like go in his room and pilfer shit. Yeah. That was how I survived. Because if I would have showed up, I was the kid with the binder full of energy cards. No Prime.
No Charizards. Yeah. No, and it's funny how like those little cliques can form in schools, and it's just based on like whatever is hot at the time. And there's like, it almost makes no sense. Like again, to go back to Pokemon cards, like it was a trading card game. Like it was a game that you were supposed to play. Did you ever actually play Pokemon, like the card game?
No, it never made sense. And if I did, I played it wrong because there was just like attacks with numbers. And I know like in the actual game, there was like, you'd have to have like so much energy, and you'd have to, each move would actually take, you'd have to play those cards in succession to be able to like take it, actually pull the move off or whatever. We would just do like shit math. Remember at Big Rock, they had like this brown wooden bin that had gravel in, and that kind of became the de facto like arena for trading and battling. And we would just like put two cards down, and it would be like, mine says 100, yours says 60, I win. Battle, let it rip, Beyblade. Yeah, that was Pokemon. But no one ever actually played the game. It's funny now because like I think about it, they just released a new set, Scarlet Violet. And like I was all over it, and I kept telling Megan, I'm like, when this drops, I'm gonna start buying Pokemon cards, like legitimately. And she's like, why are you doing this to us? I'm like, it's for Marin. She's like, it's for Marin. It's for your daughter. And I was like, 100%. I want to get her into collecting. I want to like give her access to this kid economy. Like she's gonna roll in, and she's gonna be wearing Osiris. She'll be drinking Prime, and she's just gonna be flipping Pokemon cards. She'll be a very popular young person. And Megan's like, okay, well, is she allowed to play with them? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, like when you buy the cards, can Marin like have them in her hands and like play with the cards? I'm like, well, no, obviously not. She's gonna wreck them.
That would be insane.
That would be like, what are you talking about? No, she can't play with them. She's like, well, so they're not for her. I'm like, no, they are. But I thought when I had this idea of getting them, I was like, not only gonna get them, I'm gonna learn how to battle. I'm gonna be going to GameStop or like what's that? Was the shop in Chinook with all the Warhammer, and they're gonna like close it down, and I'm gonna show up with like my Yu-Gi-Oh fucking the thing on the arm.
Yeah.
Oh. Celtic Guardian. I play Pot of Greed, which allows me to draw 3 more Pot of Greed. Yeah. Anyway, we didn't get any. My kid's gonna be a loser at school. I'm a loser now.
You know what though? Like that might not be the cool thing. Maybe it is, but that might not be like if you told me 2 months ago, because like Prime has not been out in Canada very long. You told me 2 months ago when Prime launches in Canada, it's gonna be a status symbol for like elementary age children. I would have been like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Same thing, like, oh, maybe I'll stock up on Gatorade then. That'll be really cool. But it's like, no, I mean, obviously they've got the personalities behind it and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just wild that a hydration drink has just become very trendy.
I'm actually going to like drill a hole through either side of this and wear it as a chain when I go to work.
You should just fill it with water.
Oh,
like
yeah.
All the kids.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to get some street cred.
Yeah, I'll get so much respect from them.
It's funny. I'm thinking about it in my head now, and I'm like, did we ever grow out of that? Like, do we just do it with different things now?
Oh yeah, no, it absolutely becomes different things, right? And it's funny because like, these kids are saving up their allowance money to buy $3.50 bottles of like Prime, and like to somebody with a job, like an adult with a job, you're like, oh, give me a flat. Like I won't even think twice about that, right? And so I think you just graduate onto more expensive hobbies for sure. And you kind of find the one that's like maybe true to you in a sense, that's not, hey, everybody's got Pokemon cards, I gotta get Pokemon. I don't even watch Pokemon, I gotta get Pokemon cards.
There's less influence around it. Like
totally.
When you're a kid, and I see this all the time, it's about like representing yourself and essentially having other people recognize you. And you're not really like, you have no idea who you are yet.
No, exactly.
So what you are is like a projection or like an emulation of what you think is cool. And so like everything you do is an effort to show that you're that type of person, but it's not you. So when you're older, you become like yourself, but then you still engage in those behaviors a little bit.
Yep.
But you're not looking for validation as much. Like it's not, I think of like, we've talked about it before, but like smoking meat.
I was just about to bring that up.
Like,
we're on the same way.
Oh, I was smoking glizzies last night, smoking onions, and all the dudes were like just eating hot dogs, and they're like, these are so good. I was like, I know. They're like, what did you do? I'm like, just fucking set it and forget it, man.
Yeah.
I hit that smoker. I just like, I come out, do a couple hoots myself, get it in my eyes. I hate white rabbits. And then
I want to smell like a campfire after I've cooked dinner. Yeah.
But I do that for me,
Oh yeah.
I'm not wheeling my pit boss over to the gravel box at Big Rock and waiting for someone to roll up with theirs so we can battle.
But if you get deep enough into a hobby, like an adult hobby, you can join like a subreddit. And here's the funny thing, this is where I was going with the smoking meat, is on Reddit there's like a smoked meat subreddit. It's called Smoking, right? And it's not about like any other type of smoking. It's just it's not about Marlboro Reds or anything. It's just like smoking meat.
That is the subreddit I belong to.
I'm a proud admin of the Marlboro Red subreddit. But you get on there and it almost kind of makes you feel like you're back in like junior high or high school, where like there are some people, and that's like very much like they want to outwardly project like what they've done that weekend on their smoker. Oh, did a 20-hour brisket smoke, like just pulled her from the cooler after a 4-hour rest, and then they'll share videos, and like I've never gone to, I like to lurk and like get ideas and recipe ideas and stuff,
but you're not
like
flexing.
I'm not posting videos, not even really commenting, right? Unless it's like, hey, looks good, which is weird to say that to like another man online, but like, hey, looks like you did a good job, like give somebody some validation, right? But there's dudes that like I don't know what makes them want to do this, but they'll be like, here's a video of like me cutting my brisket, first cut of my brisket, and then they'll squeeze it and the juices run out, and then all of the top comments are like, don't squeeze it, you're losing all the juices, you fucking idiot. And it's like, and then it just evolves into an argument between, for sure, like men between the ages of like 30 and 55. And like they're just arguing about like, should you squeeze a brisket or not? And it's like, we're not even like, let's go back to the first part where like a man has like cut a brisket in half on video to share with other men on the internet.
He's got his GoPro out. Yeah. I love it. As soon as you said that, I was thinking of like, that is so weird. But like, I have this phenomenon all the time. When you run into another fisherman, you start out as humans talking to each other, having an interaction, and it like quickly devolves into pulling out respectively your phones and finding fish pics. And you're not even like, you're no longer talking. You're just like, you show one, and then the other guy goes like, and then he shows one, and it's just like, we're just pushing phones in each other's face, like, we're big fish, my big fish, I like fishing, and then like sharing stories but not listening. Yeah, man, no, maybe the kids got it right.
Maybe the real secret is just to follow what everyone else is doing. If there's a lesson you take from this podcast, don't do anything unique.
Never.
Just follow the crowd. Don't stand out.
Oh my God. Just conform and you're going to live a happy life. I think about like in my 20s, it was Red Bull. Because like Red Bull came out and it wasn't carbonated. It was in those glass bottles and you could get it at like Movie Gallery. And then they like released the like, as it is known today, that can. And we would drink like obscene amounts of Red Bull. And then like as we got older, we would drink it with booze. And I remember I never threw out a can. Like and not like I was collecting them for the deposit to return them. I just had like,
you were not living the 3 R's?
No, I just my room was a recycle depot, and I just like stack them on my shelves, stack them on that Mr. Perry entertainment unit that I was so proud of.
Shout out episode 10.
Yeah, start putting Jaeger bottles behind them. Like, I mix this with this, and I do it a lot. And I remember I just woke up one day and I was like, this is literal garbage. I filled my room with literal recycling. Captain Planet kicks the door in. He's like, we got to have a 3-hour conversation. You need to get this shit.
You were reducing landfill waste, I guess.
Yeah, reducing brain cells. Our dude B Marsh always tells me, or has told me in the past, that like the notion of recycling is like it is in a large part with a lot of materials just to make you feel better. And that like a lot of it ends up in the landfill, or like the products that it gets repurposed into, a lot of them are like worse and can't be recycled, and it's like a huge percentage. If you hear the fact check jingle come up, but I think it's
I'm not going to fact check you. I've listened to a very good podcast years ago. It was NPR Planet Money, and it was the economics of recycling. And one of the problems that we're actually running into in North America is basically what we would do is we would take the recycling, your blue bin, they pick it up every Friday and they dump it on a barge and they send it to China to be processed. And eventually China was like, we're a real economy now with like a thriving middle class. We don't need your like essentially garbage.
And so China, everyone's got Prime. Yeah, I remember.
Everybody's got Prime. We can afford Prime now. But they would eventually got to the point where China was like, we don't want your garbage anymore. And they were literally dumping it in the ocean. They were just like, so all your recyclables were going in the ocean. And then, so North American countries were like, oh, well, like what's the next up and coming third world economy? And so it was like the Philippines. Yeah. But then the other part of that is, they tell you what you can put in that blue bin. I don't know about you, but I'm just like, looks like it's recyclable. It's fucking going in there. And, so what was happening?
The blue bin, you mean the other garbage, right?
Yeah, the other garbage.
There's the black garbage bin,
when
and then the blue garbage
fills up, you fill up the blue bin.
Yeah.
And so the Philippines was like, you guys are essentially just sending us garbage with like some recyclable materials mixed in. And so they started refusing it. And so really it honestly comes down to, okay, like, are we actually doing anything it's not, can't really be repurposed, and if it is, it takes a lot of energy and water and stuff like that, and are you really helping in a lot of ways? And B, if the people you're sending it to repurpose it are just dumping it into the ocean, you might as well have just sent it to the landfill and buried it underground. It's going to take 1 billion years to like break down, but like at least it's not in a fish's gills.
I was gonna say, it's not a dolphin hat now. It's not a stylish dolphin hat. Oh man, my mother-in-law's like queen recycler, and she busts me all the time. Like I'll do silly stuff. Admittedly, I'll like recycle the can, but then I'll throw the lid out, like when you have like a thing of tomato soup, and she'd be like, what is wrong with you? And actually that might be one that does get used and like does get broken down. So I don't want to come across as a eco-terrorist here. I'm just late. I'm just not a good recycler. But I always think of that. I'm like, where does it even go? It's going to some dolphin. He's going to wear it as a hat. Like, who cares what bin I put this shit in? Man, we really fucked the planet up, hey?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Pretty much irreparably at this point.
Yeah,
and when you think about like you go to take back your bottles, like the refundable deposit ones, they're actually picky about what's in there because like it matters, right? But your blue bin, I think maybe once a summer they'll like open the top of your blue bin and make sure there's not like a full pizza on top of it, right? Like, but
I'll put anything in there.
I pretty much will. I mean, I try and be good about it, but again, in the back of my mind, I always go back to this podcast that I listened to like 2 or 3 years ago. And it's just, I'm like, none of this matters.
Yeah, just give up. The earth is doomed.
Well, and here's another stat. Like now we're getting educational here on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, heck yeah.
But I was reading and it was like the amount of CO2 that you output as the average middle class North American is infinitesimal compared to like what, many millionaires and billionaires put out. And so you can put solar panels all over the roof of your house, like start compost, do everything you possibly can, buy an electric car, whatever, do everything you possibly can to reduce your carbon footprint. And you will, over your entire lifetime, have removed effectively 30 seconds of pollution. Like you've done nothing. Elon Musk, he flies his jet all over the world. He'll go to the World Cup in Qatar and fly back for like a Sunday night meeting.
He does one thing. He lives one day in his life.
He does that. He's put out more CO2 in one weekend than you will in 20 years. And so there's justification to be made. Well, he makes the best electric cars and he's doing a lot of good, but it's like still, if you're going to buy one of his electric cars and effectively make no change in the world while he's flying around in his plane, you know, like what's even, it's very easy to feel like what's even the point of all this? You know, I play no real actual role. They want you to feel like you do, but you really don't.
Is the correct term greenwashing? You're like, you buy something because you're like, oh, this is going to be, I'm going to feel good about myself because it's got this giant 3R symbol on it. Like, totally. I'm saving the planet.
Yeah, a lot of companies will do greenwashing in the sense that they want you to feel good as an end consumer, and they will do the bare minimum to make it seem like they're sustainable and environmentally friendly, so that, you know, they kind of latch on with that, because it is, you know, it is very like disturbing sometimes when you think about like we're basically like destroying the planet, and you want to do right, but realistically your ability to impact any of that as an individual is essentially nothing. So anyway, none of this matters.
Well, just give up now. You're powerless. We're also apathetic. We're also like the worst like species ever. Like,
oh yeah,
I was thinking about the sun chip bag. Do you like sun chips? Sun chips?
They ate. Yeah,
I like sun chips. French onion.
I like
harvest cheddar.
Yeah, they are good. I like a good mixture in like the party bag where you get the pretzels.
I like my sun chips with cheesies.
Yeah. I like my sun chips to be somehow more unhealthy.
Doritos on top. Yeah, no, I feel you. But remember, sun chips came out with the like 100% biodegradable bag. They were like, this bag, you can literally bury it in your yard and it will just return to the earth. And whether that's true or not, I'm sure there's some like molecular shit going on down there that it didn't just turn into like, you know, usable compost. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but I remember the thing with those bags is they were really fucking loud. So they basically like, they came out, they're like, we solved it. We solved chip bags. You go anywhere. That's like, you go anywhere and there's a million chip bags like rolled into a fence, you know, like it's just, they're everywhere. And this company comes out and they're like, we did it. We completely solved the chip bag crisis. You eat these chips, you throw it in the ground, it's gone. And everyone was like, yeah, but it's pretty loud. Like, have you tried to eat a bag of these while your wife is sleeping next to you? It's impossible. Okay, she always finds out. Yeah, and then like they're back. Like that's gone. That's not a thing. I'm sure there's some more to the story behind that, but I like to believe that just like we as the human race, we're like, I'm not eating these noisy fucking chips. They're already pretty crunchy. None of the bag is crunchy, way too crunchy. Screw that. This planet is not worth noisy chip bags. Not even close.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I also like to go back to the apathy thing. You know, again, I feel like I do the right things, and I know in the back of my mind that I'm not making that much of a difference, but I still put all the stuff in the recycling, take my bottles back. You know, I don't litter and shit. When we were driving up to Edmonton a couple weeks back, middle of the highway, the whole way is just filled with garbage. And I'm like, so like, you can do what you want, but there's a dude doing 150 up to his shift in Fort Mac, you know, fucking 8.7 liter dually, just throwing fucking chip bags all the way
out the window.
And so it's like no, this doesn't matter.
Big guys eat so many chips.
I don't know. I was just thinking of the stereotypical.
They do. Fuck those guys.
I was just thinking of the stereotypical dude that's just, I'm like, I'm gonna recycle, and like this dude's just undoing and so it's like, why does it looks like a fucking like beach after like an accident, like all the way
it's
like
Woodstock 99 all the way up to
horrible.
QE2.
And I was, you know, obviously some of that garbage essentially like is accidental. You get winds and your bin knocks over, you can't help that or whatever, but I was like, not all of that is like accidental. There's just people that are just like, oh, like I'm done and I don't want to hold on to this chip bag until the next gas station, so fuck it.
Yeah, well, and so I hear what you're saying, and you feel helpless, and like with everything going on with the climate, and like it's very easy to be like, well, I'm dropping the bucket. I could do all this stuff, but it doesn't really matter. But we have been fairly doom and gloom. My actual take on it, and it's maybe not my take, it's maybe one I adopted from the internet, as is like, you know, most. But we watched these. You ever seen the Kurzgesagt in a nutshell videos?
No.
I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. They're interesting. They're cool. And I actually watch them in class all the time. You know, it's nice little break in between transitions. Put on something interesting, and they're just kind of like what if videos. You know, like what if, you know, the moon got pulled out of our orbit? What would happen to the planet? And I recently watched one about essentially recycle technology and like where we're going in terms of the climate crisis and what's going to happen. And like, it is not insane to think, it is not unrealistic to believe that there are advancements in technology. Like, I think about carbon capture. Who knows what that's going to do in terms of like, maybe it's now like super fracking and we're just like blowing apart the Earth's plates and it's going to lead to some other huge problem. But there is a realistic possibility in our lifetime that we stop emitting, or we develop a technology that can actually sustainably and like meet our requirements harvesting solar energy. Like, there's so much power in the sun and we just like don't know how to use it yet. Or we have nothing that can like capture, store, and then utilize that in a cost-effective way. All these other fossil fuel technologies, like the infrastructure is developed, it exists, we know how it works, there's a ton of money in it. You talk about that corporate harm angle, like, yeah, people are not incentivized to just like obliterate these long-standing structures that make them billions of dollars. But it is realistic that there's going to be some people, a group of people soon that invent something. That's what I'm hedging my bet on. This was getting like a little tangenty, but I'm just saying, like, you're saying I recycle because I know it's a good thing to do and it makes me not a piece of shit. But like, I think things are pretty bad. I don't think I'm saving the world. What I'm saying is throw it all out. Burn tires in your backyard because some super smart guy is going to just think up a big plan and save us. I'm hedging my bets.
So you're operating on the Idiocracy is not a documentary, and there's like, we're not slowly getting dumber as a society.
Well, okay, so it's not a given because like we're headed to that moment.
There's people shooting Bud Lights. Okay, they buy cases of Bud Lights and shoot them. So like, that guy is not solving the climate crisis, and there's an alarming large amount of those people out there. That's my
and there's famine and there's war and there's disease, and so very much we're like there's a fork in the road. So yeah, the anti-intellectual movement is one thing. Like, yeah, no, I don't think someone's gonna just like rip their 12 gauge into a case of Bud Light and be like, wait a second,
it's come to me now.
I just had an epiphany. Gonna save the planet. No, not that guy. But I do think, if we don't completely and entirely destroy ourselves, which, yeah, who knows? Someone will invent something. I don't know. It's a pretty like short amount of time. All this incredible technology, that we live with now. Like it moves so fast. There's so many things that we have as adults that weren't even like couldn't even conceptualize. The fact that you turn your TV on and we can just like select a streaming service and just choose a television show and put that in our brains. Even the notion of having like that interface, a touch screen, that was sci-fi. Mm-hmm. We're playing like Number Cruncher in the fucking computer lab in 1995, and like we didn't have the internet. Internet 1, AOL. Yeah. Like, what's an email?
So I'm gonna bum people out again a little bit.
Just get me. I see it on your face.
I see where you're going with that. Here's the thing: is like, we actually already have a lot of the technology to solve a lot of global warming, and we've had it for decades.
But it's not bankable.
No, it is, but it's nuclear power, because nuclear power does not put out any emissions. Right? You do have to dispose of the nuclear waste, but that's actually can be done. Like, they've solved that problem. But the problem is public perception of nuclear power, because they think of Chernobyl and they watched it on HBO and they think that a bunch of drunk Russians run every nuclear reactor in the world, right? And actually Canada makes some of the safest, most effective nuclear reactors in the world, the CANDU reactors. And just this week...
Of course it's something corny like that.
Well, it's like CANDU. They call it CANDU. It's not like CANDU.
The Canadarm. It picks things up and puts them down in space. Thanks. Thanks, Canada.
I don't know what it stands for, but it's CANDU. And just this week, so here's the problem: is like, we've got the technology and we've actually got people in power that are like, let's use it. Justin Trudeau, love him or hate him, he comes out and he's like, we need more nuclear power if we're going to solve the global climate crisis. We need to do this. And, there are private companies that might, like, there's money to be made in nuclear power. And it's one of the few times where, like, the entire Conservative Party was like, that's right. Like, you've nailed it. We need nuclear power. So you're like, oh, okay, like, Justin Trudeau, conservatives, usually not great bedfellows, but they've like found common ground on this one really important issue. And then many people in his own party, as well as other, third parties, came out and did a news conference and were like, too much danger, can't be done, like we can't risk a meltdown. And so like we've got this technology, we've got like commitment from people in power that want to do it, but the other people that have to vote on it in our democracy that we've elected to represent us are like, no, like I watched Chernobyl on HBO and like your skin's gonna fucking melt off and don't touch the green rock, like. And they held a fucking press conference and they're going against like their own leader. And so I'm just like, nah, like the solution's there. We've had it since the 40s, but like you've got people who like don't know fucking anything. Like if you looked up nuclear power, it's so safe, but because we had one bad meltdown,
that's a bummer. There's more than one, but I do remember that actually. We were talking about that gave me shades. This was like the end of like my Facebook days. My Facebook history was like a long and negative and like incriminating history, given your track record. But I remember one of the like nails in the coffin was the Fukushima partial meltdown or full meltdown, whatever.
It's kind of still an ongoing thing.
An ongoing thing.
Okay, so I guess side note to that, if you are going to build nuclear reactors, don't do it on a fault line right on the edge of the ocean.
Don't do it on the Ring of Fire.
Yeah.
Okay. Noted. But I remember when that happened, you'd have people. This was like this is kind of crazy to think about. This to me was the first like occurrence, or when I became aware that there was like this idea of alternative facts. Like news is not news. News is actually completely subjective. And, this idea of the internet being a thing where instead of using it to seek out information and, like confirm bias. Mm-hmm. You just find out what you already believe and what you think. And people will post stuff like, oh my God, there's this nuclear blob traveling across the ocean like an amoeba, like a Pac-Man ghost is coming from Japan and it's going to fucking get us. And like I knew people going on like Hawaiian vacations, Mexican vacations. They're like, oh, I just wish I'd be able to swim. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, of course you can swim. They're like, I'm not touching that. I'm not putting my foot in the Pacific. All that Japanese radiation coming to get us. And fair enough. Maybe, but I don't know. I have no clue. That's not my department. There are people much smarter, like this hypothetical man who's going to shoot Bud Light and then save the world with his invention. There are people who are paid infinitely more educated and well-versed in these types of things to solve those problems and to like also like determine whether or not there's this giant radioactive blob traveling through the ocean. And it's just like, I don't know. I shouldn't be able to weigh in on this. And it kind of makes me, when you're talking about like the people in power being like, we have this technology, we can use it, it exists. And then all these other unqualified people are like, yeah, but did you watch that show on HBO? Did you hear how loud the chip bag was? It was so many decibels. I couldn't even eat those fucking things. And like, it's getting downvoted. It's done. Yep. Like we have this tech that will literally save the planet. Here are these like piles of peer-reviewed documents indicating the safeness of this technology. And like, look at how much it yields. Like we did it. We don't have a noisy chip bag, we don't have a chip bag that stays in the ground. It'll decompose, and we're just like, no, don't want it. Yeah. I'm good.
Yeah. So it's and to go back to like your, I guess, alternative facts or however you want to term that. I think a big part of that is like it can be very easy if you're watching the news looking for answers in some of these situations. Like some situations are like, turn on the 5 o'clock news, man murdered, here's who shot him, here's all the witnesses, he's going to trial next week or whatever, right? But there's a lot of things in our world that like we really don't understand. And so when that reactor meltdown was happening, you had experts that would be on CNN or whatever news source you're watching that would be like, hey, they're trying to cap this or do this or like enclose it with concrete. But if that doesn't happen, it could leak into the ocean and cause this. Or if the blob sinks through, it could burn all the way through the earth. That was one of the things that they talked about during Chernobyl. If the active uranium melts through the floor of the fucking power plant, they're like, this is it burns hotter than the surface of the sun. It can go right through the earth and come out on the other end.
It's going to China.
And so that was what they were like, oh, and what's on the other side of Russia? It's like, oh, and so people were talking about that, but nobody knows because that's never happened before. And so on the news, I went to broadcast school. They didn't teach me like nuclear reactors and shit.
You want craft dinner?
No way. What is that? What just happened?
That's our Google Home broadcast. So my daughter just interrupted my very
you were on one
prescient thought about news and stuff like that, requesting craft dinner over the fucking broadcast system.
That's hilarious. Okay, but that's kind of timely. We're talking about like the new tech. You just got fully buzzed by your.
Oh yeah, she's like, I want craft. I know you're doing something very important that you do bi-weekly in the basement.
Daddy,
I need craft dinner.
Craft dinner. Thank you. Bye.
But and you know what's funny about that broadcast system is that I'll say something to her, she'll be upstairs in the playroom, and so I'll say, okay, please broadcast, and I'll say the message, and it'll play up there, and then she won't respond. It's usually hey, come down for dinner. And so then all that happens is I do what our parents did and just lean at the bottom of the stairs. I'm like,
yeah, you've got this technology. You got to stomp on the floorboards. Yeah.
Go back to I was playing with my mic there, and so I had to pause for a second because I put it on mute. Good thing you pointed it out.
I picked that out. We would have talked. For another 20 minutes on mute, or just me. Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so she won't hear my message, and I'm just like a caveman rubbing two sticks together trying to start a fire, just yelling back up the stairs. So, but yeah. Anyway, I went to broadcast school. This is the thought that I had before my daughter requested craft dinner to the whole fucking house.
Announcement.
I went to broadcast school, and in the 2-year program at Mount Royal, they do not teach you about the intricacies of nuclear power and stuff like that, right? So
you skip that class.
Well, yeah, and so you, even as a person presenting the news, and you have to present it very confidently, and in a very fact-based way most of the time, but you rely on experts. And again, even these experts, they're drawing on the knowledge that they've learned in university. It could be 20 years ago, but again, that's never been practical knowledge, right? You can sit in your nuclear physics theory class and talk about what would happen if there's a meltdown and it gets through the floor of the fucking power plant, and is it going to go all the way through the earth? Who knows, right? And so I think sometimes people they get very I guess what's the word I'm looking for? Non-confident in the news, or they don't believe it because the news can be wrong, and the experts that they bring on can be wrong. And it's really just it can be a fact-finding mission that takes forever, and you can have competing theories and all of that, and then it's very easy to see these competing theories or them present information in the future that contradicts previous information, where it's just like, well, they don't fucking know anything, or they're changing their story. Here they go. Here goes the fucking Illuminati giving them their marching orders, right? It's very easy to fall into that when really it's science is not an exact science, right? It is a series of trials and tribulations. Another message.
Someone wants an apple. Can I also have an apple?
I'm gonna unplug the Google.
Oh man, you got the thought out. That was good.
I'm glad I got the thought out before it. Apparently now we also need sliced apples.
Oh man, yeah. That's an interesting way to look at it, and I think that that's very true because, when you're already untrustworthy, when you're already engaged in those conspiracy theories, and maybe those are the answers you're looking for. But yeah, it makes me think of the weatherman. He's never right. He's always lying to us. Can't be trustworthy.
Yeah, and I mean, there are a few weathermen that are actual meteorologists, but for the most part, your local news weather person is somebody who I went to school with and is reading, whatever was posted on, Environment Canada website that morning, right? That's the job.
There's your expert.
Oh yeah. When I was on air and I had to do, my weather at the top of the hours, it's environmentcanada.ca. It's and then I just read whatever was on there. I was not the weatherman, but I was presenting whatever I saw. And weather can change. We don't control that. Nobody controls that, right? Except the Illuminati. Anyway, okay. we were talking technology, and we actually had this idea. Now we're getting a little long in the tooth in this episode, but
long in the tooth, short in the schween.
Hell yeah. But ChatGPT, hot, very hot.
It's the new prime.
Oh yes. Anybody can have ChatGPT.
I've actually okay. So here's I go on the news in the morning. I doom scroll. I like get up, get a coffee. I'm like, all right, before I do anything else today, I want to sit and read about how awful the state of our society and planet, and I just want to like get bummed out, you know. So go on, and it's in the news right now, all these different AIs. But I think like I have been hesitant to use it because it's a little spooky. I read the stories about it, but I have not actually gone on myself and like done the ChatGPT conversation, anything like that.
Yeah, there's definitely
fearful
implications, and ultimately it's going to be how humans use it. I mean, we're all humans using this tool, right? And it's built by humans, right? So, but there's also some very promising things. Like, for example, I saw an article yesterday. I'm very well read. But I saw an article yesterday where they took medical questions from patients, like real patients, real medical questions, like this is what's happening to me, or this is my condition, what should I be concerned about? And they got actual doctors to write out the answers, and then they punched it into ChatGPT and said, what would you say to your patient if you were a doctor in this situation? And they got a third-party like medical board, so didn't know which one was ChatGPT, didn't know which one was actual doctors, to rank the advice given. And in every single case, they said ChatGPT was more empathetic to patients than actual doctors.
No way.
Yeah.
Why aren't we asking ChatGPT to solve the climate crisis?
How do you fix this?
ChatGPT,
help.
What do we do about chip bags?
Have you tried making them louder? Yes, we've done that. We need another solution, please.
Okay, new tech. Yeah. No, I'm fearful. I'm the caveman. I'm like, this is spooky stuff, but that's super interesting.
Anyway, so I've used this very powerful tool that could solve the climate crisis to fill out the last little bit of content for our podcast.
Yeah.
And so I kind of gave it some prompts. I was like, what are some, questions that you think you would
lay
like
them
to
on
ask
me
on a podcast? And I gave it a few different prompts. So we'll work some of them are kind of like, I was like, that's a stupid question, you stupid AI. But so I'll read a few of these questions. We can answer them. So the first one said, give us some funny questions you would ask the hosts of a parenting podcast, because we are the Rad Dads. We rarely talk about parenting. We're trying to solve the climate crisis.
We always talk about our kids. This is we're the dads. This is dad talk. We talked about smokers. Your kid fully came on and asked for
my kid made
macaroni
a guest appearance.
and apple slices. Okay, go on.
So I said, what are some funny questions you could ask the hosts of a parenting podcast? If you could give a parenting award to any fictional character, who would it be and why?
Ooh, a parenting award.
And so here's one and this one's going to be kind of out of the blue, but I want to say like Homer Simpson, because he's not the perfect dad, right? Nobody is, right? We turn on a lot of these shows and it's like, I watch Bluey, and that dad, the dog, makes me feel like shit. Makes me feel like a shit parent, because he's always on it. Like he's always ready to play
Such
whatever
a good
game.
dog dad.
He's so good. Homer Simpson is a flawed man, as we all are, right? But there's episodes where like he puts in the effort to like learn and engage with his kids. I think about the episode where like Lisa becomes a vegetarian and like she's doing all these like quirky things that he doesn't understand, and he goes in the isolation tank with her, even though he's like so uncomfortable about it, and he ends up going through like this wild ride where like the tank is repossessed and falls off the truck and stuff. But anyway, I'm like, he's doing his best, and he goes to work and provides for his family, and like, you know what, and very long running show, right? Very popular show. So, and you can laugh at him sometimes. Yeah,
I like it. I was gonna say the first one that comes to mind is like Uncle Phil.
Oh, that's a good one.
He's like a legit good dad, and like helps Will out and works hard as a judge. But then I immediately thought of Goku. And Goku's just like, go on, you don't need those books. I'm going to teach you how to fight. And then they save the world from Cell. So Goku, big time parenting award. Shout out Dragon Ball.
Here's another one. What's the most embarrassing thing your child has ever said or done in public? I've got a good one for this one. Not necessarily fully in public, but we were with other people like that are not our immediate family. So when we were looking for houses in Okotoks, it's like still, you know this one.
I know this one. This is awesome.
It's still kind of like COVID times, and like, you know, Omicron's making its like third fucking appearance or whatever, and so you go into a lot of these houses, there's hand sanitizer at the door, there's signs saying please do not use our facilities or anything like that. Anyway, we get to this house, they've done the full get up. There's gloves at the door, masks, hand sanitizer, big sign, please do not use the washroom or handle anything as little as you can, please, like, be mindful of our home. That's fine. You've put up your home for sale. You're allowing us to come view it. I will respect your rules. 5 minutes in, my daughter's like, Dad, I've got a poo. And I was like, okay, well, these people have asked us like not to use their bathroom. Can you hold it in? We'll finish here and we'll rip over to the gas station.
She's not understanding the context.
No, she's like, I have to go now.
There's poo coming
and
up.
I look at our realtor, like our homie Geese. I look at him. I'm like, she's a 4-year-old kid. Like, what am I going to tell her? Like, I was like, he's like, just go make it quick. And so he's like kind of out in the hall. He takes a call or whatever. And I'm like, hey, Kenny, go quick. Like, go. Like, get this out. Proceeds to take the biggest shit of her entire life in this toilet. And I was like, oh God, I hope this flushes. And I was like, are you done yet? And she's like, oh, not quite yet. And it was, in hindsight, very funny. But at the time, it was like, these people explicitly asked us not to use their bathroom. And my daughter proceeded to destroy it. Like, just disgusting.
You weren't like Tom Arnold and she was Austin Powers. You're just like talking her through it.
No, I was
grab
like,
on to something.
Finish. Anyway, so that's not necessarily public, but with others around.
My kids are so little, I haven't really had that opportunity to be mortified and embarrassed of them. I mean, I'm sure it's coming. I remember at Megan's sister's wedding, we were all having like a sit around one of the afternoons while we were getting some stuff ready for the rehearsal. And Marin just like walked over to the corner of the rental and was like, I'm going to shit here. But she was like still so little that when she like, even like the act of like, just like pooping on the floor, we were like, aw, like, look at that. Dad does it and it's a problem. When Marin does it, it's cute. I remember, I'm trying to think though, when we were in school, we had a sport for special populations class. And part of the program requirements is that you had to volunteer. And we volunteered, my wife and I, with these twin boys. I think they were like 6 or 7, but they were both on the spectrum. They're both quite severely autistic, and great kids, obviously, but they had some challenges, some complex needs. One of the things they loved to do was go swimming. And so we're like, we'll take them to the wave pool. And we like pack these kids up, go to the wave pool. I've got one, Megan's got one. And the young boy that I was with, like, he just immediately, as soon as we got out of the change room, he started running up to people and like tugging down shorts, pulling bikini strings. Oh yeah, like rampant, like just like it was his thing. And so like that was a pretty hard one to just like run behind this kid, and like as people are like screaming and like, like, you pull off my top, and I'm just like, it's the I gotta go. I'm like trying to explain what's going on, like why he's acting this way, but also like I need to stop him from the next attack.
Yeah.
And I don't have time. It just looks like we're in cahoots.
You're like trying to explain really fast. You're like, I'm sorry, it's what you were wearing. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. So not my kid, but yeah, I've had those moments.
Yeah, there will be some coming up for sure. I probably have 100 I could say about Kennedy, but if you could swap parenting responsibilities with any animal, which animal would you choose and why? Sounds incredibly irresponsible. But I think, so my first thought when I saw this, when it generated this one, was like, I want something that's as close to a person as possible. I was like, maybe like a chimpanzee or something. But then chimpanzees are also incredibly powerful and like can be aggressive animals,
cannibalistic tendencies.
So like leave the kids with babysitter chimp and come home. It's just like a bloodbath. So I'd probably pick something that's gonna just occupy the kids, not necessarily care for them, because I don't think you can replace that. But like if I put like a cute little lamb in here, my daughter would probably play with that lamb for at least an hour before she notices I'm gone. I'd be able to rip to Costco, house a dozen hot dogs, get back. Lamb has done a good enough job of babysitting my kids. So
I'd go full piece of shit dad. I would go like grizzly bear. Like there's that one giant grizzly in Banff National Park. He's got a name. They call him the boss. And like the boss is alleged to have sired like the majority of grizzlies in the area. Oh. Yeah, so he just like shows up. He's like, "What's up, babe?" Do their thing. Have a bear, and then he's just like, "Okay, I'm gonna peace, but if I ever see this cub in my territory, like I'm either gonna eat him or I'm gonna scare him off because this is like where I do my thing." Okay, nice hanging with you. Yeah, grizzly bear, that's me.
To watch your children?
I thought it was to like, what was the question?
If you're gonna swap parenting duties.
Oh, I missed the duties. When you said that question, I was like, if you could be an animal parent. That's how I interpreted that.
That's also a good answer.
Yeah.
I was like, you're gonna leave your kids with a grizzly bear? Because when you're like, I'm gonna be full piece of shit dad, and just like,
oh, that was that whole.
Like, yeah, you want them to be mauled by Banff's biggest
that's
bear?
last night rearing its head. I was a little out of it on that one. That makes sense. You were talking about like going to the store and stuff, and I'm just sitting here in my own head. I'm like, I'm a bear. I'm a big grizzly bear.
You are.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave my kids with a grizzly bear. Same answer.
Sick. I mean, at least you would know if there was like a home invader or something, they would be very well protected.
Fictional answer, bringing back Pokemon, I'd go with like Genghis Khan.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole episode about how they care for a child. So
Totally. Indigo League.
I just watched that one like last week. So.
I watched so much Pokemon.
Love it. These are not necessarily parenting related questions. This next batch. If you could have any superpower, but it had to be completely useless, what would you choose?
It has to be completely useless.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think mine would be making chip bags louder. Just point. Somebody's eating a bag of chips, just point, and all of a sudden it's like a lawnmower.
Mine would be developing planet-saving technologies that no one trusted because they watched Tucker Carlson.
You're like, I've got the solution. No, you're a World Economic Forum puppet.
Yeah, that's my superpower.
I love that. Back to the animals. ChatGPT thinks we just
these questions throwing me for a loop.
If animals could talk, which one do you think would be the biggest trash talker?
Oh, I'm gonna go magpie. I like living in the wood, out in the Woodhaven. Like that's like a whole thing. Like if you ever wanted to sleep in, forget it. Because these birds are out there,
and they probably are trash talking. If you could translate what they're saying, like
talking smack.
I'm gonna say the Okotoks town deer, like the ones that live in the town.
The deer
they
gang?
act like they're invincible because they are, right? If you are like outside of town and you see a deer fucking your shit up on your farm, I know you legally can't shoot it, but like you can shoot it. And then
in some areas there's landowner rights. You can shoot like a troublesome bear in areas.
Yeah. I think there has to be like a better reason than like it was eating my flowers.
It's coming right for us. My case of Bud Light's also coming right for us.
Those deer, like I took the dog out for a walk the other night, and there's just 3 deer walking down the street, stopping at every house to like eat some like just newly budded leaves off of a tree or something. And
they mad doggy too.
Oh, and they're
like,
just staring at me, and they're like, "What are you gonna do about it?" Like the only way you can take us out is if it's accidentally with your car, and then enjoy dealing with insurance on that one.
Accidentally.
Oh
yeah. No, those deer, man. I had a moment. Like I wrote an email to the town. It was like really icy. Megan's 7 months pregnant, like going for a walk with the dog, and like she's getting bucked. Like deers are chasing her. I remember I sent an email. I'm like, are you prepared to have this like on your conscience? Like a pregnant woman like attacked by deer. Like you need to cull these. You need to cull this deer gang. Get rid of them. And then it was actually really embarrassing because like I have a lot of friends at the town, like a lot of connections. I got like an email from like my dude. Hey Drew, like I got a pretty spicy email passed on to me. Like, you doing okay? Like everything's all right. Like pretty mad about these deer. Just gonna remind you, they're a wild animal. And although you might think the town is like apt to do something about it, it's quite complicated. And you know what? I'm well read on this because I was pretty heated, and they sent me back a bunch of documentation, but they also sent me like their minutes from like a very involved series of meetings regarding the deer problem in town and what were viable options. They had like pros and cons, and they were talking about like trapping them and trying to like they actually like would tranquilize the female deer and give them like a hysterectomy if I'm using that correctly.
Yeah, but that's a wild solution.
Yeah.
I figured you're going to say like they're going to trap them and just like drop them off in Black Diamond in the middle of the night.
Well,
You're a problem
They're
now.
such a problem, man, and they lead to like predation, like other
None of them
scary
look
animals.
healthy.
They all look scabby. They're gross. So I was like, okay, get to the option where they gotta like shoot them. But there's a lot of other places where they've done that, and like, you know, it doesn't work. There are other problems. You like immediately have an affect in the ecosystem.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't know.
fucking up the food chain. I can see that.
Yeah. So
At the same time, though, like, so we were golfing yesterday, going between hole 2 and hole 3 at Crystal Ridge Golf Course. Like, again, we're winding through the community. This is a residential area for all intents and purposes. And there was had to be no less than 10 deer just hanging out in this one very small area between those 2 holes. And it felt like every second hole we saw at least 3 deer just like roaming around. So I was like, there's a lot of deer. Like, it's not even necessarily the deer are a problem. It's that they have no predators in Okotoks other than like a few mangy coyotes, and they're just reproducing like crazy, eating your stuff from your recycling bin that shouldn't be in your recycling bin. Like, you know, so it's like they'd be big trash talkers though.
if we get more chips in town, that'll bring more Fort Mac riggers to town with their dually trucks. Just get them doing laps, throwing chip bags out the window. They're gonna hit a couple of these things.
Oh yeah.
Now we're thinking.
Yeah.
Next.
Oh, it was an accident.
Next question.
If you could switch lives with any fictional character for a day, who would it be, and what would you do with your day as them?
Ooh. Switch lives with a fictional character. I got it. It's just in my head. I'm Goku. I'm a hype in Dragon
Just
Ball.
a standing answer for all these questions is Goku.
Just put me down as Goku for the next 6. Yeah, man, I'm Goku, and like I'm just blowing shit up. And I'm just macking on hot anime babes too. 12-year-old Drew would lose it.
Oh yeah, legalize hentai.
No lewd content. Oh, there it is.
It's at the end.
Oh god. I'd be a tentacle monster.
I said something about hentai yesterday, so I'm on a 2-day streak of talking about cartoon porn. But
Oh my
I said that, and Alicia's like, "What's that?" And I had to like explain it to my wife, which is like a humbling experience.
Well, because then she's like, "Well, how do you know that?" And you're like,
Yeah, and I was like, "Conversation over."
Drew watches it. He tells me about it. He's always saying he wants to be Goku. He's into some weird shit.
I just having been, maybe I'm not very creative, but just because it's top of mind, been watching Ted Lasso. I feel like it'd be cool just to be like Ted Lasso for a day, coaching a soccer team, hanging out with the boys
wife
on a
hates
big
ya.
pitch. Well, yeah, no, like I'm thinking like
Divorce.
season 3 Ted Lasso. You're over it. You've come to terms with that.
I haven't seen. Don't spoil.
Oh, okay.
I don't know Apple ID. I gotta.
Yeah, either do I, but I'll put you on.
Nice.
Okay, so here's some more parenting questions, but I said not funny ones because the other ones were supposed to be funny.
Get funny out of there.
Yeah. We're gonna finish with some very practical parenting advice.
Let's do it, yeah, man.
How can I help my baby sleep through the night? I'm not good at, because our baby currently does not nap, period. So I'm not great at giving advice, but she does sleep through the night. I would say, you gotta create the right environment. You gotta have a good bedtime routine. So if that's like bath, bottle, same time every night, kids respond very well to routine. That's my advice for that one.
Yeah, what you're gonna want to do is meet your wife in the 7th grade, lock her down by about grade 9, and just make sure she's like real wholesome and like a good mom and like takes care of all that stuff and like just allows you to be a big piece of shit while she worries about the intricacies of rearing children and getting them to sleep, because she is dialed and does a lot of work, and love her very much. So that's my advice.
There you go. Your advice is very similar to like, buy real estate in Toronto before the market goes crazy. It's like,
go back to the 60s.
Yeah, go back in time and get that prime real estate. All right. When is it safe to introduce solid foods to my baby's diet? It's actually funny because Alicia and I have like this. And I think it's because good and bad. I took like a children's first aid course right after we had Kennedy. And
Smart.
Yeah. And it actually came in handy when Kennedy had her seizure. because I was like 2 weeks removed from that course. I was like, I know what to fucking do, and I handled it so well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big parenting win.
But the lady that taught the class, love her, she was super helpful. But every single thing that came up, she had like a horrifying story about like, what can happen. Like, she'd be like, oh yeah, like I was the first responder at a car accident and saw this guy's leg crushed. And like, I knew that you shouldn't, tie it off because his like muscles are dying. And when the paramedics untie it, you're just going to release all these like fucking enzymes into his blood and immediately kill him. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So everything was horrifying. But the big one was like kids choking. And she'd always be like, watermelon, one of the biggest reasons kids choke. You think it's so safe because it's a watermelon. But she's like, they take a big old hunk and it just gets lodged in there. And she's like, and then your baby's choking. So I'm super paranoid of choking. And so Alicia will like get even like these baby cookies. She'll like give it to Kaylee, who's 9 months now, right? So she's like, it's not just like this like amorphous blob, like sit up and crawl and shit. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, she's gonna choke. Alicia's like, fucking, this melts in your mouth, like one drop of water, and it's suddenly like baby cereal. Like, chill.
They're designed that way.
But anyway, big trend these days is baby-led weaning, right? So we're like, as your child wants to reach for things, and you have to let them lead the way. So there's not really, that's kind of a cop-out answer, but there's not really like a, hey, like
what kind of hippie bullshit is that?
It does sound like some hippie
drinker.
bullshit, but oh yeah.
We hopped on it early. Megan read something similar and was just like, we would like have the bottle out and then like also just like a smorgasbord of mushed up peas and carrots. It happened early. I think Maren was eating solid food. I want to say 6 months, 7 months. It was crazy. I was like, are they allowed? And Megan's like, she is.
Yeah.
Starting with like that.
Yeah. No, and 6 months, I think kind of 4 to 6 months is when they can start having like that cereal, like that mushed up shit and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
You know what's stressful for me related to baby feeding? But Alicia is deathly allergic to peanuts, like anaphylactic, like carries EpiPen with her and everything.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that? So the recommendation now, so when we were kids, the recommendation was keep your kids away from, highly allergenic foods or like common allergenic foods until they're like 2. So that would be, your peanuts, eggs, sometimes dairy in some cases, right? And now the recommendation is that should be one of the first foods that they eat, right?
Oh yeah, get them on it.
But so I, with Kennedy, I fed her peanut butter. I'd mix it into her baby cereal when she was like 5 months old, right? And I do that with Kaylee now. But it's like a quarantine zone when I do that because if Alicia touches something and then gets some peanut butter like peanut butter residue in her mouth, we're EpiPen hospital trip. Like she spent the night in the hospital accidentally eating like a piece of a peanut butter cookie, right? So it's like it's very stressful for me because I'm like, this is when I'm like solo parenting. Like Alicia's not even gonna be. It's usually on a night that she's out of the house, and for me it's like, she eats on this portion of the table and then I'm going to like Lysol it and she goes straight from there into the bath and then I put her clothes in the laundry and like, it's just, I've got this routine, but it's high stress for me because I'm like, it would suck if I'm like the reason my wife died.
Yeah, you don't kill your wife. Yeah. Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's solid food. There you go. Yeah, some of these are just like, I don't know. When should I start thinking about childcare options for when I return to work? That's actually a good one. And I feel like we're both kind of like going through that, or we have gone through that recently. So Alicia's going back to work in August. And we've already locked down her childcare spot. But it's tough, especially if you want them to go to like a proper daycare, which our child is not. She's going to like a private day home. But yeah, you got to lock those spots down because they're limited, and if they're regulated, it's not, you can't just throw 200 kids in this lady's basement for a day. Like it's and there's limited people that want to do that because you need to be a saint to do that job.
Oh man, it's such a tough gig. Brad and I worked at the Boys and Girls Club with like kindies back in the day. Like it's wild. It's a tough thing. The day home thing and the daycare thing. It's interesting because like we're going through that right now. Like Lindy was on a wait list, like while Megan was pregnant, kind of thing. And so we got a spot, but the interesting thing is like, yeah, you get the spot, we get a kickback from the government. It's like affordable, but the daycare, I don't love it. Like we've had a lot of like, I would characterize them as whack experiences, like picking up our kid and like, oh, like your diaper is filled with shit. Like I thought that's what they did here. Or like it's crazy stuff, man. Like we went in the one day and some kid had bit Marin like hard.
I remember you telling me the story, and
they made us sign a document. They're like, yeah, so we have an incident report here, and then like on the document, like in writing, it was like it was Marin's fault.
Yeah, like she prompted this child to bite her.
It was the way that she behaved. She like took a toy away from this little bastard, and she got bit. And I'm like, I'm not signing this. This is wild. Like, can you like not have kids bite my kids?
Well, and even like I can understand that like that situation would happen, but to be
shit happens for sure.
Yeah, like your child, like objectively the victim in this situation, the victim of like physical harm, instigated like that is very much the like, well, what was she wearing, like day home fucking answer, right?
Hell?
Like,
oh man,
yeah. To me, when you told me that story originally, I was like, that's fucking wild, and I would have had the same response. I would have been like, oh, like, okay, I'll talk to her about sharing toys better. How about you talk to that kid's parents about being an abusive little fuckhead?
Yes.
Like, you know, like that's still not how you respond. And you learn that so early in life. You're like, you know, you don't respond with violence and stuff like that. And like, and you know, okay, this child was wronged, but he like responded like at a level 10 when he was wronged at a level 2, you know. It was, yeah, no, that story is wild to me still.
And there's so much, because they go to daycare, and like one thing, new parents, get ready for this, because we got a couple friends who are expecting. My cousin Day just had a beautiful little girl, and one thing you don't know is that like when you finally get them into these daycares, like get ready to have them out of daycare, because they get everything.
Yep.
They get every cold, they get hand, foot, and mouth, RSV, friggin' dual puffer situation. And the daycares, they like you go there to the friggin' incubator, get them nice and sick, and then same thing. You go to they call you in the middle of the day, come get your kid, and here's a document to sign, and you are not allowed to bring them back for 24 hours. And so you just pay for daycare and don't have anyone to watch your kids. And then they do other stuff. Like they were sending her home for a while there. They kept saying she had diarrhea. And we're like, yeah, that's a problem. Like, is she dehydrated? Is she sick? And we get her home and nothing. So we'd have her home for the 24, because we signed the like, get your kid out of here document, and then bring her back. And then same thing, you got diarrhea, come get her. And then you look on like the food menu, and they're feeding her tuna melts every day. And I'm like, okay, you want me to have diarrhea? If the next Chat GPT question's like, hey, rad dads, how do you get diarrhea? I'd be like, eat a tuna melt.
So, we're having Taco Bell Tuesdays every day of the week here at Day Home this week. Yeah.
So I kind of fucking hate daycare, but then they're like, hey, let's get her to another spot. So we went for Megan went. She went and did like a walkthrough at another place. And it was really good. And we're like, yeah, okay. Like, we're interested. And they're like, all right, well, like, we'll let you know in a year if we can fit her in. Like, we'll let you know when she's school age, if we can get her in like preschool.
Yeah, she's gonna be in half-day kindergarten by then. Yeah.
And then you go on in the morning, you're doing your doom scrolling, and you're like, oh, that stuff terrifies me. When you have kids, those stories, those awful, horrible news stories that involve children, like it hits so different.
Yeah.
And not even to take it there, but there was like some crazy like hatchet wielder in Brazil. And I like, obviously, like such an irrational fear. Here's my AI fear coming back, or just like, why don't you like it? I don't know. But just like, you're just like I'm terrified of anything, any type of like event befalling my child. And so like, it just lives in my head. And at the daycare, they have like a passcode, a 4-digit passcode. And you go there and like people are just holding the door open for Trash Can Billy. Anyone can fucking come in. And they've been there, she's been there for a year. They've never changed the code. And I'm like, that negates the like safety aspect of having a changeable door code. That's 4 digits, and you can just once a month, I put a new fucking code in to save your kids from this Brazilian hatchet man. Obviously, silly example, but like, change the fucking door code. How hard is it? Yeah.
What was
the question? How much do you hate your fucking daycare? Yeah, I fucking hate it a lot.
There was a news story like, maybe a month ago, and it was post one of the school shootings in the U.S. Like, and I'm not going to try and name which one, because it feels like there's one every
day. There's more than 365. They just said it the other day. Tucker Carlson. But they're like 389 school shootings. They literally like they're more than a point per game right now.
So they were doing this news story, and this reporter went to a very like high end private school in New York City. Like, we're talking $100,000 a year to send your kid to this elementary school. The people that send their kids there are like ambassadors from other countries, hedge fund managers, very wealthy people whose children not only could be in danger from like typical day-to-day school shootings in the States, right? Because they have them day-to-day, but like could be, bargaining chips for like kidnappings because their parents are billionaires or highly powerful people. And they've got security guards posted at every entrance. And this reporter goes up and he's like, hey, I was wondering if I could go inside and check out the school. I want to send my daughter here. And the security guard's like, you've got to like book an appointment. Somebody will come out and meet you. He's like, I just want to pop in really quick and like see what's up. And the security guard's like, oh, I probably shouldn't let you do this, but fine. And just like let this dude into the school. And so it's like you can have all these measures in place, but without like any common sense.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And I mean, he probably looked the guy up and down. He's like, he obviously doesn't have a gun or anything. He, maybe this reporter was like a very, well put together person and didn't put off any of those red flags or whatever. But it's like to make that judgment call against all policy just reminds me of like, holding the door open for Trash Can Billy, right? Yeah. Anyway. That's kind of a bummer way to end it. So let's do one more question. I was gonna end it on that one.
I told you I took it there, but I was just like, no, man, it's an issue.
So let's finish with this allegedly funny one that I asked it to make funny questions. If you were a character in a horror movie, what cliche would you fulfill and how would you try to survive? I already know this. I talk about this all the time. Like zombie apocalypse, for example. I don't even want to try and survive through that. You've seen The Last of Us, and it's just like, I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. Like, I don't want to live in this like dystopian society, like just trying to meet my basic needs. I want to be the first one to fucking die. Same thing if there's like a nuclear war. I hope that first rocket lands on my house.
Hits me.
Yeah, like no, I don't want to participate in the rebuilding of society. No, that'll be my cliche. I'm the first guy to die.
I'm gonna do. I'll take an early death, but I'm also gonna do like the Scream parody death. Like I want to die the stupidest way. Like the killer finds me in the garage and I try and get out through the dog door. Like that's there is one where they're just trying to get out of the garage and they like hit the garage door opener and like, oh no, I'm going up. This is a bike chain pulling this thing. It's gonna cut me in half. Yeah, I'm gonna die in a silly way.
Yeah, I guess you want to make it memorable. Yeah, no, I'm just gonna be not patient 0, but patient 1. I'm the one that patient 0 gets. So. Anyway, okay. I think we had a fun episode.
It was a great episode, man. Morning show. We did it.
Morning show. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Catch you on the flip.
Talk soon.
Listen to the next show as the boys go storm chasing in a misguided effort to remake the classic film Twister.